we would have begun with debate coverage for you, and we will do that shortly from last night in case you missed any of it. But Chad Livengood, who covers the Capitol for the Detroit News, is on the other end of our AT&T line with a story that trumps all others this morning in terms of Michigan politics. Thank you for being available, Chad, so early and on such short notice.
Thanks for having me, Michael Patrick.
Blockbuster story that seems like it's been unfolding over the last couple of months came to a head with your report. What happened?
Well, I have obtained an audio tape of Representative Todd Courser of Lapeer speaking to a State House employee at the time, back in mid-May, on the 19th of May, in which he called him to a meeting late at night at his office in Lapeer, his law office, to ask him to send a salacious, fictitious email about himself, alleging that he had sex with a male prostitute in an elaborate effort to head off public revelations of a relationship or an affair of some sort with State Representative Cindy Gamrat of Plainwell. Been rumored for months that these two were more than just a Tea Party duo, and this audio tape, which the employee recorded because he had at the time sort of feared that Courser was volatile in some way, confirms a lot of things that people had no idea that Representative Courser may have not been able to do. Essentially, this email did go out. People got the email. It was full of all kinds of sort of slanderous things about Representative Courser. He can be heard on the tape reading portions of the email aloud to this aide. And the whole meeting was about him trying to get the state employee to send the email for him in what he called a controlled burn, in quotes, and with the design to, quote, inoculate the herd. The herd is an apparent reference to his adherence of sorts within the Tea Party movement in Michigan. It's a bizarre story, Michael Patrick. It took weeks to work on and nail down, and Representative Courser, when we tried to get him to comment, we played a portion of the tape for him in his office. He kicked us out, and Representative Gamrat also would not comment about their relationship, and this all kind of came to a head. Normally, we don't police a lot of affairs at the Capitol,
sure.
And these things go on. They're adults. But when you start involving state employees in trying to conceal something, and the state employee refused to do it, 6 weeks later, he was fired. And within weeks of refusing to do it, he had duties removed. He also had a pay raise sometime in that time period, too. So there were some events here that suggest maybe a misuse of taxpayer resources in an attempt to keep this thing quiet. There's a second recording we have on the second day, 2 days later, a meeting in Representative Gamrat's office, right at the House office building, in which they start discussing the relationship and the more personal issues, and of course, there ends up missing a committee meeting because they're talking to Ben and Gamrat. In her case, she actually can be heard on the tape asking him to keep quiet to protect not just me, but my family, in her words. So it's a pretty it is a bizarre story, nonetheless.
So let's back up to the start. They're both elected as Tea Party favorites, Todd Courser and Cindy Gamrat, state representatives. Did I hear the right that they've combined their legislative offices?
Yeah, and this is a little unusual. They actually merged the staff and were working out of only Gamrat's office.
Okay.
And representatives in the past have have shared some staff. It's common for Detroiters to have maybe a shared staffer to do constituent relations and work in two districts. But these are two legislators. One has a district in Lapeer in the Thumb, and the other one has a district 130 miles west in Allegan County in West Michigan. So they're nowhere near each other, and so it was a highly unusual arrangement that according to the staff was more or less designed. I should say the former staff, because they quit or got fired. Was more or less designed to maintain the relationship.
No kidding. And they're both married with families?
That's correct.
And so, as unusual as that might be, something happened in spring, some event that was gossiped about around this town for the last few months at the hotel in downtown Lansing. Is that what triggered Todd Courser to say, I've got to do something drastic to cover that up?
Everybody in town, reporters have looked into this, alleged incident at the Radisson Hotel. There is no police report or any kind of public record of that. No, according to the tape, according to Representative Courser on the tape, what prompted him to want to send this email, this false flag out, is him and Representative Gamrat both got identical text messages on the day of on the afternoon of May 19th, right after, like he says, 7 minutes after session ended. They got the same exact text message from some type of unidentified phone number that they didn't identify or know, and saying that this person knew about the relationship and essentially implied they were going to expose it. And so this is what caused him to call this employee who lives in Lapeer to his law office late that night to come down, and that's where he essentially starts laying out a lengthy story about some of his personal issues and life and family and his own marriage, and then he goes right into I need you to send this email, and he reads it aloud. The aide disputes it. He says this is crazy. There's a crazy way to deal with this. No one's going to believe this. He makes a lot of effort. He advises his boss. This is a 25-year-old political aide, and he said, most people will just quietly resign.
We'll continue with Chad Livengood in 3 little minutes with the blockbuster lead story of the morning. It's Michael Patrick Shiels on